I'm working on the West Nile virus as kind of my focus area, but over the last year, a couple other diseases and viruses have been worked on within the larger Jornada field station, experimental range. And they're all part of this ARS Grand Challenge Initiative. The main driving point behind this grand initiative is to bring disparate experts together, folks from genetics expertise, people from statistical modeling, field ecologists, vegetation ecologists, wildlife ecologists, and try to achieve this goal of 2020 by 25. That's a 20% increase in quality production in agriculture and a 20% lower environmental impact by 2025. Within that scope, there are several different sub-goals, including increasing yield, post-harvest losses, reducing those, but also disease management, looking at the pests that affect agricultural systems, both plant-based systems and animal systems, trying to understand the disease ecology or the dynamics that take place so that we can better anticipate where those diseases are going to occur, prioritize surveillance, and have a better, more effective response when they do occur. As I said, my focus is West Nile virus and the disease that results from West Nile virus, West Nile disease. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my understanding of the disease system and give you some general directions that we are moving towards. First of all, why West Nile? West Nile is a tremendously important disease. It has a tremendously large disease burden in the U.S., and that burden is distributed unevenly across the country. States or local communities with an abundance of horses, in particular, and other livestock, are much more affected than those areas that do not have quite as many livestock. Usually when we start talking about West Nile virus, we think about the human impact, human death, human illness. So here are some numbers to give you a sense of what that amounts to. Since 1999, which is when the disease was introduced in the U.S., initially in New York and then it spread westward, over 50,000 different cases have been reported. About half of those have resulted in neurological effects. By a neuroinvasive disease or neurological effects, I mean that the virus causes encephalitic type symptoms, so brain swelling, spinal cord swelling, which affects paralysis, motor coordination, vision, those types of things. It can also cause depression and a number of different effects. Very importantly, over 2,000 individuals have died since 2018. Human individuals have died since 2018. So it's a very important disease in terms of health impacts and losses. Several of those folks have been here in the immediate area and in El Paso, Texas. Because we're focused on agriculture primarily for this initiative, we're looking mostly at horses, which tend to be the livestock species that's most affected by West Nile. Cattle do get it to some degree, but mostly it's horses. To give you a sense of the number of cases in horses, this graph kind of illustrates from 1999 the number of reported cases. You can see it's much heterogeneous across the temporal span. At the initial time of the introduction, there was only 25 cases. That's kind of hard to see in 1999, but during epidemic surges, like in 2002, we had over 15,000 horses that were affected. The mortality rate, once the horses are affected, is about 30%, so you lose about 30% of the horses. And if you kind of look at just the livestock itself, the price of a head of a horse is probably between what, $1,500 and $2,500 for general stock. Multiply that times 15,000, you get a sense of the economic impact of this disease. Very generally, the disease moves from what's called a reservoir host, or where the virus replicates readily. In this case, for West Nile virus, it's avian species, birds, and they spread the disease to mosquitoes. It's an arbovirus, so when a mosquito bites the bird, it contracts the virus and then moves it to either distribute to other birds or, in other cases, to the incidental host, the horse. By incidental host, I mean that although the host, that individual organism can become infected and the virus can reproduce to some extent, it doesn't replicate or amplify sufficiently enough to then be spread again by another mosquito bite. So once it's in a horse, once it's in a human, it's kind of stopped, dead-end host, in the way of saying it. Do all these factors remain constant within each of those areas, or do they differ? Do they change with time? Do they change with space? If we can take this and map it onto those historic predictions and establish a relationship, then we can use that information to prioritize surveillance in the future and hopefully reduce the loss of horses.